We're plus-size travelers. Of course we check to see if there's a customer size policy before booking.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we're expected to pay more just to travel comfortably.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we think about if we need a second seat before we book a flight.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we ask for the seatbelt extender as soon as we board the flight.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we get dirty looks anytime we're traveling.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course society doesn't believe we deserve to travel.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we can't use the tray table on a plane.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to look through tons of pictures just to see if a place is plus-size friendly.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to walk sideways down the plane aisle to make sure we don't hit you with our ass.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we can't use the airplane lavatory comfortably.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to do hours of research just to go somewhere.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we use apps like Seat Guru to navigate travel in a bigger body.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we check the weight limits on like almost everything.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we have to worry about weight-based discrimination.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we bring compression socks on all of our trips.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we can't find our sizes in souvenir shops.
We're plus-size travelers. Of course we get an extra pat down at security.
Wow, that sounds like one big, ginormous problem that they have there. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of wearechange.org. As of course, we have a lot of absolutely wild and crazy news happening domestically inside of the United States as the culture conflict has officially begun, and it looks like Taylor Swift will be taking on Joe Rogan in the finale of the Western civilization that we all have right now that is in its last rounds of bouts for survival, as of course we are on the brink of collapse. We're going to be talking about that, plus all the latest news, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Very fitting, especially with what is happening now geopolitically. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is highlighting two people's struggles on TikTok from @JBayOfficial, detailing some of the problems that plus-sized travelers have. And I blame the airline industry. They make those seats way too freaking small, way too compact. They're always trying to penny pinch, even though they get a crap ton of U.S. tax dollars. This as air travel just becomes a whole lot more miserable with the decline of American hegemony on the world. This as in Portland, Oregon, the state there just declared a state of emergency because of all the illegal substances that their citizens are taking. This as the Oregon governor there is describing its major city in turmoil 3 years after the city decriminalized possession of illegal substances that now, according to him, has caused economic and reputational harm. This as, of course, the state absolutely failed its citizenry, where internationally other countries like Portugal and the Netherlands actually implemented similar programs but were able to do it successfully. Portland absolutely failed, while at the same time creating a nightmare situation for its state and its citizenry that now have to deal with record amounts of theft, violence, that also predominantly is making a major comeback in democratic cities all throughout the United States, as we have this latest video that is too crazy to show you here on this broadcast, with the Daily Mail titling it NYPD Black and Blue, highlighting how migrants beat two police officers in the middle of Times Square before they were freed without bail. Yes, this is an actual incident. Yes, this is the wonders of a pure sanctuary city that has a district attorney that has been financed by someone that we can't even mention here on this particular broadcast. The same district attorneys that, of course, outlaw and criminalize self-defense to the highest degree of the law, while cops, of course, are in many instances nowhere to be seen when the citizenry need them. In related people who are not there when you need them news, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, is now finally heading to East Palestine 1 year after a major train derailment there that caused massive environmental issues. Now, why is Joe Biden 1 year after the incident finally making a visit to this tragic site that left so many people hurt and wounded? Well, I don't think he knows himself, since he doesn't know where he is half the time. That guy could barely walk, barely talk, barely hold his own bowels, and barely keep his head on straight, which leads us to the next story of a deranged individual that committed a horrible action that the corporate media is now talking about, that we, of course, will be talking about in full detail on lukeunfiltered.com. Sadly, YouTube doesn't allow certain mature topics to be discussed here, but that's why we created our own platform to have those discussions, to talk about things that are very spicy, that are very tumultuous, as of course a lot of people are responding to this particular story of a father that literally lost his life to his son, an outright tragedy that some people are correlating with somehow MK Ultra. What's really going on here? How will this event be utilized for political purposes? What's the larger context that we need to understand from here? Well, that is what we are going to be discussing all on lukeunfiltered.com. As of course, you signing up for memberships is absolutely critically important for us. And if you thought about doing it before, do it right now, as of course we just opened up an $8 a month tier that allows you to participate in this independent media organization more than ever. We're going to be doing AMAs, in real life meetups. We're going to have a special video just for you right after this broadcast, and 6 p.m. Eastern later on today, we're going to have a special 2-hour live podcast here on this channel with the one and only Chaya Raichik of the Libs of TikTok, who will be here with us in studio. 6 p.m. Eastern, you guys get to actually call in as members and ask us whatever questions you guys want. It's going to be a very fascinating, interesting conversation that I think is needed more than ever. And as members of LukeUnfiltered.com, you get to participate in that conversation more than anyone else before, as well as getting a lot of other incredible offers of value, all on LukeUnfiltered.com. Again, click the link down in the description below. Signing up, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple. You just click right here. You put in a little bit of information, you get emailed back a login, and you get access to 10 plus years of content centered around helping you become the best, happy, healthiest, and strongest version of yourself. Your independent health journey starts right now just by signing up to lukeunfiltered.com. This, as of course, there is another major conflict brewing, and no, it's not the one in the Middle East. It is the cultural one happening right now surrounding the 2024 presidential elections. This, as Fox News is reporting, that Elon Musk is going viral for endorsing a speech that RFK Jr. gave hitting baby boomers, praising Joe Rogan in the same speech, as of course he was describing a hypothetical situation where he wanted to strap down baby boomers and to force them to listen to Joe Rogan. This, as Elon Musk responded to it, saying that, quote, he's right. RFK responded by thanking Elon for providing a platform for free speech, as of course RFK was censored all throughout social media for a very long time. This, as the corporate media that baby boomers predominantly listen to is filled with lies, specifically when it comes to attacking a lot of the major anti-establishment figures in our society like Joe Rogan that are only becoming more influential with every attack against them. This, as Joe Rogan now is making headlines by slamming his former home state of California, describing it as a state that has gone, quote, full communist and has an insane approach to law enforcement. A very similar approach to law enforcement like the one in New York City, which we just described to you a couple moments ago. This, as citizens are left on their own with insanely long police wait times and district attorneys that will punish anyone defending themselves. This, as Joe Rogan said, that it is insane to have zero cash bail policies, along with policies that don't do anything against people stealing. All comments made on his latest podcast episode with Bobby Lee. This, as of course Joe Rogan fled California to the free state of Texas, that now many prominent individuals are trying to turn blue. Joe Rogan also described how he was a liberal his whole life, but can no longer support their causes because a, quote, has gone full communist. Here are some of the comments for context.
Austin people are great people. They're really nice. They're nice. They're not shitheads. They're not Hollywood people. They're not lost in this fake world of leftist ideology that everybody's trapped in. They're just people. They're just regular people, man. And those people exist outside of these blue bubbles where everyone's gone insane. Well, I used to be a part of the blue bubble. I was 100% a left-leaning person who lived in Los Angeles. I was 100%. I never voted Republican my whole life. I was very left-leaning, especially with like any social issues. When it comes to financial things, I'm a little bit more conservative. But at the end of the day, way more left than I am right. But California went nuts, man. It's gone like full communist. It's out of its mind. And their approach to law enforcement is so insane.
And let's be honest with ourselves, he's right. And he's just describing the initial phases of what is essentially an empire in decline. As of course, a lot of these policies aren't accidents, aren't coinkydinks here, and they are a deliberate form of what I believe to be internal destruction of the Western world. Joe Rogan also recently on an episode with Kalan Anor described how Democrats are trying to leave people without the ability to defend themselves, describing a situation where predominantly a lot of the violence by gang members in inner cities comes from major Democratic areas with the strongest and strictest laws against self-defense, as they're using a horrible situation that the Democrats created as a form to create more of that horrible situation. And then I would absolutely agree with Joe Rogan there, as of course there is a major cultural backlash against all of this, as described by Vivek Ramaswamy, who was recently on a podcast episode with Dana White and described how there is a pushback against a lot of this cultural Marxism in major Democratic woke areas, and that there is a rise of a, quote, silent majority that is becoming more and more prominent, more and more outspoken, and more reasonable to the average American just watching things on the sidelines. This, as one entertainment website recently declared, that there is a major culture war happening this election cycle, and that is a war between Taylor Swift and Joe Rogan, with Joe Rogan clearly describing himself as someone who used to be a liberal and now no longer is able to side with the destructive nature of that party. And of course, Taylor Swift, who has a boyfriend who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl, who of course loves to do advertisements for the establishment and Big Pharma, as she previously endorsed Joe Biden and probably will be doing it again this upcoming election cycle. This, as it's fair to say, that this is the election that really is going to be mattering for a lot of individuals, as we're going to see who has more influence here, who's able to rally more people in support of their cause, as of course one of them is leaning into the establishment and another one is very anti-establishment, something that Russell Brand also recently discussed on Tucker Carlson as he talked about the radical escalating cultural tensions that are dividing not just the United States, but the world, and creating two totally different polarizing viewpoints that are not able to get along with each other. This says, of course, it's also important to note here that the establishment and governments collude, as Russell Brand described, to shut down independent anti-establishment voices. And that's exactly what happened with, of course, Russell Brand, that governments literally reached out to social media companies demanding his ouster, demanding his demonetization, demanding his cultural presence to be ended, and for him to never have a voice ever again. Those pressures failed predominantly because of Rumble, predominantly because of Twitter, and showed us that you could actually criticize the establishment, and when the establishment wants to shut you down, they won't be able to do so, highlighting that the establishment is probably more weary than ever, and that's why they're bringing out a Pentagon weaponized PSYOP weapon of colossal proportions that some people are describing as Taylor Swift. Now, that, of course, is a particular theory out there, but who do you think is going to be winning this larger cultural clash? Will it be the Swifties or will it be the Joe Rogan neckbeards? Who is winning this larger cultural clash in this very important election cycle that, of course, they would be playing a key critical role in? Let me know down in the comment section below. I got one more video coming your way on lukeunfiltered.com, 6 p.m. Eastern today. Another podcast episode just for you guys, going live for 2+ hours. Stay tuned for that, plus a lot more, all here on wearechange.org.